Hey everybody, it's Rob, National Fire Radio. Thank you for joining us this morning on The Gospel. I'm very excited to be here. Got a special friend who I've met a couple years ago, Brian Franz from Sentinel Fire Apparatus or Sentinel Emergency Solutions out in Missouri. Brian, thank you for coming on the show today. I'm super excited about this. We've been talking about this project for a little bit now, so thank you.
Yeah, you better. I mean, absolutely, man. We've been talking about it for a little bit, and I'm excited to sit here and talk fire trucks for a little while.
So for those of you who are out there, Brian and I met at Revolutionary Fire Tactics at the Lake, the longest named fire conference in the history of fire conferences with David Woodward down at Lake of the Ozarks. So if you're not there, you need to come out this July and check it out. It's a great conference. So we got a lot of partnerships out there that are going to be there, and we hope to see you. But Brian and I met there, a couple years ago, and Sentinel happened to be there with some trucks, and we got to highlight some of them on National Fire Radio, and that's really where this relationship kind of began. But let's start at the beginning, Brian. Let's kind of talk about how you got into the fire apparatus game. Like, you're not the typical fire apparatus salesperson, and you're certainly not the typical president and owner of an emergency vehicle dealership. So, when did you start this journey?
Yeah, so down there at the bottom, my name's rolling across, and it says owner/president, but I'm really a fire truck guy. I mean, that's where it all started. So my family, it's a family business, and my dad, I'm going to mess this up when he watches this, but my dad answered an ad in a newspaper back in like 1987 to sell fire trucks for a company. So he did that, and then in 1989, started him and my mom started a company. Ran all the way up until 2007, 2008. Had some stuff go down, and then Sentinel came around in 2014. Our company continued in 2007, 2008. But then in 2014, Sentinel, we actually merged with Towers Fire Apparatus over in Illinois, and that's how Sentinel came to be. So the original family company was called Battalion 3, went for a long time. And then in 2007, they sold it, restarted Franco Fire Equipment, Franz company. And then when we bought Towers, we changed it. We got rid of the Towers name and the Franco name and called it Sentinel. So kind of a neat background. My family's been in it for a while. I started, I tell everybody, young kids in 6th grade got to have a summer off. Well, I didn't. My dad would wake me up and make me go to the office every day and clean the toilets and wash fire trucks and all that kind of stuff. So I started turning wrenches, and when I turned 18, sold my first fire truck my senior year of high school. And actually, it's a great little 2-door GMC top mount pumper for $107,000 back in 2003. So it's amazing how the trucks have moved on. But that's kind of where I came from. I got a mechanical type background. I turned wrenches for a while, and then realized after getting my hands dirty every day that I should get into sales. So that's kind of how I came about. Our company's cool. My older sister works here. My younger sister is a full-time firefighter, and then she does marketing for us part-time. My brother-in-law works here. My father's still involved. My mother helps out on some stuff, and my wife works here as well. So we got a neat family business, a neat family dynamic.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I thought that was interesting when you said that you sold your first fire truck in your senior year of high school, and that GMC top mount pump is, I can picture that.
I was on the road. I remember like it was yesterday, man. I was on the road fixing some trucks, and a guy called and said, "Hey, I want to buy a fire truck." I said, "Well, you got to talk to another guy," and he says, "No, I'm going to talk to you." I said, "Okay, what do you want?" He goes, "Well, I got a FEMA grant when they first came out. I got $107,000, and we just became Rosenbauer dealers. I take that back. We were Rosenbauer dealers since 2001." But I called up there, and they said, "Yeah, we got a stock GMC chassis, blah, blah, blah." And I made it work. I walked in my father. I said, "I think I just sold a fire truck. What the hell do I do now?" So, yeah.
What a baptism by fire, so to speak.
That's right, man. I couldn't even drive the truck home. I wasn't old enough to have a CDL yet.
So it's interesting thing there, just like kind of hit on real quick. You had a stock truck, and I think a lot of people think fire apparatus and they're thinking custom built, but I think stock options really do provide benefit to the customers. Like, kind of hit on that real quick as we're diving in here. Like, what is the benefit of the stock options for the apparatus?
Rob, it's changing, man. I mean, it's getting it's not getting weird. The industry is changing with all the parts shortages taking place, with the delivery stuff, with all these factors taking place, and not only the fire industry but in the economy. Stock trucks are becoming a big deal because guys, rather than waiting 2 years, they want to have a truck in a year. And it used to be whenever I first got involved. Now that was a stock truck back then, but we'd sell one stock truck a year out of 20 kind of thing. Well, now people are saying, hey, we want to get a stock truck and we don't care what it is. We just need a truck and we want it within the next 6 months. They just don't want to wait. So
Right.
I think the stock truck, I think the industry is going to flip a little bit. I think we're going to see departments that say, you know what, in the past we've wanted it custom to the T exactly the way we want it. They're going to say, we'll sacrifice and we'll take this one at 85%, at least for the next couple of years. I truly believe that that's what's coming down the pipe. So, but we're in no different boat compared to custom trucks though, because Rosenbauer stock trucks, building those are just as hard to a certain extent, purely from a parts perspective.
Yeah, it certainly changed the landscape, and I think one of the other things too is that a misconception. People thought like a stock truck, like you're going to have that GMC top kick, top mount pump or something like that, and it's going to be this commercial cab. It's not going to be a custom cab, but very much so. There's a lot of manufacturers, Rosenbauer included, that you're getting some really nice features on that stock chassis that's coming out, and it's the public's not going to know whether that was a custom built or a stock unit.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it used to be 10, 15 years ago, stock trucks just seemed to be like cheap trucks, right?
Right.
Ones that didn't have any frills on them. You were lucky if you got a Q. You were lucky if you got decent stuff. And I think that part's changing. I think now, there's still some base stock trucks that are value type trucks, but then there's others that are stock trucks with a lot of features. I mean, you see some other manufacturers who are building some really cool stock type trucks that people are just eating them up. So I just think our industry, it's going to change, and we've seen it a little bit, but departments are going to say, rather than waiting 2.5 years to get that compartment at 46 inches wide, screw it. I'll take the one that's already built, that's already got a 42-inch wide compartment.
And there's a little savings for the customer on engineering as well, because you don't have to worry about those issues coming into the play of the budget. So it's a little bit streamlining the process as well.
Yeah, we've been really successful on one type of stock truck. We've actually sold 4 of them. I mean, just kind of back to back to back to back. And so Rosenbauer saw that, and so you're spot on there, because if we put 10 in the production schedule for 2022. So with those 10, I mean, by truck number 8, we got it down to a T on exactly how to build it. No engineering hours, all that stuff comes out of it. So there's savings. There's normally savings, I should say. Times are just weird right now, man. I mean, it's just weird.
100%. So that's kind of, but like we talked about the stock trucks, but I want to start diving into really why I wanted you on this show. Is that like custom fire apparatus, Sentinel providing a Rosenbauer product, and you happen to, in my eyes, are this rescue engine guru. Like, I have seen some of the trucks that have come out of your dealership, and they are fantastic. So like, let's kind of hit into like the rescue engine concept first off, and like I said, you looking through the website, you seem to be producing or pumping out a lot of these apparatus. So like, why the rescue engine, and why is it becoming so popular in at least in the Midwest in Missouri?
I was just going to say, it's really somewhat a Midwest thing, is what it feels like. I mean, where you're at, do you see many rescue engines, or are you still straight truck companies, engine companies,
No,
rescue companies?
it's we have a rescue engine at work. We have a Class A pumper that's like for structural firefighting, and then we have a rescue engine as well with all the extrication equipment. We take that as a if we're called as a RIT team or a fast team.
Gotcha.
So and there's in our area of the Hudson Valley, there's quite a few departments that have rescue engines.
Gotcha. So I mean, I'm located. I live here in St. Louis, the St. Louis area. So, and the St. Louis city has 2 rescue squads, and then there's 2 other true rescue companies here in the St. Louis metro area. So, the rescue pumper, the rescue engine type deal has been around for a while with us. It's just guys are trying to make it even more than what it was before. The days of being able to have a dedicated truck company or ladder company, a dedicated engine company, and a dedicated squad or rescue company. I mean, around us, it's really a ton of manpower. I mean, even the volunteer departments that we have, you get outside of the metro Missouri area and it's volunteer. They're having trouble getting volunteers. I mean, it's just they don't get paid hardly anything if they get paid anything at all. So getting the manpower is difficult, and they're trying to combine everything into one truck. I mean, we have a department north of St. Louis, it's Lincoln County, Missouri. They have one paid engine house right now. They're getting ready to go to a second engine house. But they had one truck that ran the entire county for as long as I could remember, and they would buy rescue pumpers and load them up with 1,000 gallons of water, full height, full depth, calves, absolutely everything that they could get on it, because that was the only truck basically in the county with a full-time staff crew. And those same guys now they bought, well, they got one already in service that they just got. We ended up putting that IDEX SAM system on there from a manpower perspective. And then they bought a truck that looks just like it, but it's a pumper tanker. It's 2,000 gallons of water, and it's going to have rescue tools and kind of the exact same setup, just with a ton of water. So it really runs a ton of manpower and what other stuff that they have around them, if that makes sense.
No, and so like paint the picture here, because if I come to you as a customer and I want to get a rescue engine, there's a give and take in this, right? Like, and we were talking about this a little bit before, because the ladder rack is always a popular bully pup to beat up on, right, or a punching bag there, right? Right. But like, how do you, as a dealer, manage the give and take and the expectations that the customer has to expect coming into this? Because they're not going to get it. I don't want to say they're not going to get everything, because they can always pay for everything, but like in reality, like they're not going to get the traditional, like they may not have that low hose bed, right, or they're so like. What are the things that you want to see the customer kind of be prepared for when they're talking about this?
So I try to take a different approach. I think a lot of sales guys just walk in and say, "What do you want? I'll sell it to you." I mean, you just hit on a little bit ago, Rob. We can do anything with your money, right? That's just the reality of it. But I try to go in and say, "Tell me how you operate and what you want to do. Like what are the objectives?" Well, we run on the interstate all the time, or we're chasing the ambulance all the time, or we got fires all the time and we do nothing with the ambulance, or we got a ladder truck next door. Like all these factors are what goes into play with it. So I try to be, just try to help them with, they have these problems and how do we get them in the right truck? And so it goes right down that road, right? So we have a department who says, well, we have 3 ladder companies all around us. Okay, so how do you guys operate? Well, on our box or on our first alarm, the pumper goes and these other 3 ladders are coming. Well, then getting full height, full depth compartments are key to carry all the equipment, right? The ladders don't matter in that aspect, and somebody's probably going to light me up on this, but the ladders don't matter even if they're on a ladder rack, because right away they got a ladder truck coming right behind them. Well, they're going to pull the ladders off of that, and it's there within minutes, right?
And their primary job is an engine. So as long as that as long as the parade's in the right procession and that engine's there and that ladder truck's there,
it don't matter.
It should be a non-issue.
And the engine shows up right out of the gate. Well, they're pulling pre-connects and going, right? Mm-hmm. So now the ladder shows up. They got time to ladder the building or get the aerial up, whatever it needs to be. And then that third truck's hitting the plug. So when you take all those factors into play, then they can truly take what may be that rescue pumper. Lincoln County, I'll go back to these guys. They got a rescue pumper, 1,000 gallons of water, full height, full depth, all that equipment. That truck's going to be there first. And then they got an aerial that runs as well. Well, that's going to get hit with a volunteer and or a paid guy coming in. So that truck's going to show up second. And then the third truck could be this 2,000 gallons of water. But at Lincoln, they're going to run vehicle accidents left and right. They're going to run dumpster fires like crazy. So having an easy pre-connect or a booster reel or whatever you may want to use, those things all matter. They run some trench rescue. I mean, it's not just an engine going out, and they don't have the manpower to have an engine, a rescue, and a ladder and a mini pumper all sitting there. I sure as hell wish they did, because they'd buy a ton of fire trucks from me then. But At the end of the day, you only got the manpower to get a certain truck out the door. So it does. The hose bed, the ladders, all of those factors, everybody wants a low hose bed. Everybody wants the ladders low. Everybody wants those features. But if you're running medical stuff all the time, if you're running vehicle accidents all the time, if you're running BS stuff all the time, right, then maybe it's not as big of a deal.
We're going to try to share the screen here, so we'll see how this works out, because we haven't never done this before with National Fire Radio with the app here. But we're talking about Lincoln County, and I got this here. We'll see if we can pop it up. We'll see what happens. Maybe
sort of, kind of.
Are you seeing the truck on your screen, or?
I don't have it on mine. Negative.
Okay. All right.
Maybe not, huh? It's on, as you're playing with that, it's on Sentinel's website. Rosenbauer always posts some, but when they're leaving the factory, and on SentinelES.com, we always put new deliveries, and then we try to put them right whenever they're going into service. So it shows all the shelving and equipment and all that kind of stuff.
Well, we gave it a shot, but so like really like kind of as we're talking, I'll just pull that up anyhow so I can see it. So like Lincoln County, you said this, you're looking at this engine. There's a couple of different things with this that we have to consider on, right? So like first off, what's the base? It's a Rosenbauer, and what's the make and model here?
So that would be our, so it's a Commander cab. It's a 78-inch long, which is the longest one that we make. It's got an 18-inch raised roof. And that design is what we consider a Crossfire. So it's a rear mount pumper body. So it's all one big piece with then a midship pump. Now, the other thing that makes that one neat is, like I was saying earlier, it's got the IDEX SAM system on, which we've done quite a few of those. And the IDEX system, again, when it comes to manpower, that just fit perfectly in with Lincoln's, because they'll have 3 guys on a truck or 3 firefighters on a truck. They're running the entire county, so they're running fire, EMS call, car accident, fire kind of thing. So with that SAM system, it allows the driver to do more than just stand up there. Everybody loves a top mount pump panel. I love a top mount pump panel because you can see everything. But everybody hates a top mount pump panel at the same time, because it adds length, it adds wheelbase, and you lose compartment space by the time you do all the weight and balance stuff. So that IDEX system we put on Lincoln, we put on all 4 of their trucks. That's the first one we delivered. They got 3 more coming. They got a pump panel on the driver's side, pump panel on the officer's side. So they got a huge compartment on R1 because of that SAM system. And then they also have a tablet that the driver can use as well.
And I noticed one of the things about and I like this, is the ladder rack on the Lincoln County truck is on the driver's side.
Yeah. So that one, so Lincoln, they had a rear mount pump, and they started with the top mounts the first night I sold them. Then they did a rear mount pump. That was the next one they bought, and then they got these coming. So they liked the rear mount, and the reason we did the ladders on the driver's side, again, it's all about dynamic. There can never be in this country, in this state, a universal fire truck that everybody gets. I mean, it just never happened. So at Lincoln County, they said, Brian, we don't like our ladder rack on the passenger side because we run a lot of 2-lane road operations. So every time we put the ladder rack down, we're in the ditch, and it sucks. So this way, they can put the ladder rack down on the street side, pull the ladders, and if they need to reopen the road, if they want to do that, they can put it back up. So while everybody may think, well, the pump panel's on the driver's side, so you don't want it over there. Well, really on Lincoln's, the pump panel's on the driver's side, the passenger side, and a tablet that'll run it as well.
And I noticed too, all the pull-out compartments, like very well laid out. Who does all the? I mean, I assume the customer drives some of this, but like the pull-out boards, stuff like that. Like because this is all like utilization of space here.
Yeah. So that part's changing too. 10 years ago, 12 years ago, you'd sit with the fire department, you'd look at whatever trucks they got in the bay, and they'd say, hey, put 2 shelves in this compartment and a slide-out tray, right? And in the back, put a slide-out tray for our rescue tools and a shelf for the ramp, right? That's like, it was just the standard mentality. Where now, and I'll give some props, Fire and Marine, they deserve props on this, because those guys in Ohio really are doing a great job. They took a need and expanded on it, and really got into the customization for fire departments. So if you haven't seen Fire and Marine on their Facebook page, I think Amdor is a part of them or owns them now, but those guys are doing a great job. And here at Sentinel, at our facility, we can do the exact same thing. So the Lincoln County truck that people can't see, but when you get a chance, go on and check it out. That Lincoln County truck, Lincoln ordered all their equipment. We ordered the truck with no shelving, no trays, nothing in it, absolutely nothing. Truck came here to St. Louis, and they want, I want to say $80,000, $90,000 per truck, ordered everything all new. brought it here, and our shop sat with them, spent a couple days, and went through every compartment and outfitted every single piece of it to utilize every little bit of space. I mean, it drives me crazy. It shouldn't, because at the end of the day, as long as the customer is happy, that's all that matters. But it drives me crazy whenever we spend $700,000-800,000 on a rescue pumper, and then it's just got 2 shelves in it, right? And they get it and they throw some salvage tarps in a tray, and that's it. So there's a ton more opportunity there when you spend the money. Spend that extra money. It's not, $2,500. It's $15,000, $20,000, $30,000. But at the end of the day, you're utilizing every single piece of space that's inside of there. And I tell everybody, save yourself some room. You never go to FDIC and don't buy anything. You always find something new that you want. So save yourself some room, so that way you can continually add to it. We have some trucks that come back here 2 years down the road and say, hey, we bought all this stuff. We need to redo these compartments.
Yeah. Yeah, the shelving has always been interesting in the compartments, because like once you have that, you have it forever, and you can never easily get rid of it. I'm looking at the back of Lincoln's truck as well, and one of the things that I don't know if this was just because I didn't put something up there, but there's the ladder up to the top, because they're gonna have some coffin compartments up there for some additional stuff, and it looks like there's just an empty hose bed, but it actually looks like it's purposely done so they can access all the stuff that's on top of there.
Yeah, so Lincoln was, it was kind of an interesting story. I've known those guys for a long time, but I may screw up how this conversation went. But like, we were talking one day, and they got 5-inch hose. They carry 1,000 feet of 5-inch. I go, okay, what else? Well, we carry 700 feet of 3-inch, and we carry 250 or 300 feet of 2.5 as like a blitz fire pre-connect. Okay, well, how often do you pull the 3-inch? Never. We always pull the 5-inch. Okay, what do you carry it for? I don't know. Do we have to have it? Well, not really, right? ISO, depending on how all that stuff goes, but 1,000 feet of 5-inch will do it. And then the 2.5 was the same thing. Well, we never pull this one. We'd rather have just a 2.5-inch speedway that we can have a blitz fire sitting on, or a nozzle, some kind of quick attack out of that world. So that walkway was, we should try this to see how it works out. Coffin compartments are awesome, but coffin compartments are a pain as well, right? Because it's a ton of storage, but you put stuff up there that you try to never use, and the stuff you never use is probably heavy. So then it's kind of a pain where, Lincoln's is awesome. And re-racking that 5-inch, I was here one night with them, and we racked 5-inch, and reloading it was a lot easier standing in the walkway rather than standing on each lay and kind of building yourself up. So it was purposely designed, and I think it'll be interesting to see if Lincoln ever goes back to rescue pumpers without some kind of walkway in it. It'll be interesting to see if they miss the 3-inch dead load.
Right. Yeah. No, it's interesting, and I also like the fact that the rear compartment, especially for those who are audio only, there's a booster reel in the back, and also like the customization of getting the cribbing back there.
Yeah. Yeah, that was another one. We put that booster back there just so we didn't have to have it up top, because you can never see how it rewinds, and then it all coils on one side of the drum, and it just becomes a pain when you can't see the booster. So we put it back there, and when the truck showed up, everybody was kind of nervous, because we thought, oh man, what the hell are we going to put underneath of it? And then here in our shop, our techs, they designed that cribbing rack, worked out perfect. Who cares if the cribbing gets wet from the booster, right? It doesn't matter. I think there's a direct tank fill back there too, right, Rob? I think underneath it there.
Yeah, I see.
So yeah, who cares if those items get wet, right? You're not putting a fan or rescue tools or anything like that. Who cares? It worked out really well.
And then on the officer side, for everybody, especially those who are listening, there's in the rear compartment. Back to this here. You have your rescue tools, and it really starts getting into the extrication. You have, it looks like your rescue jacks are in the back there, and you have your battery operated Hearst tools that are on a Lazy Susan that come out, so your plus all the airbags and the accoutrement for all of that stuff.
All right there. And really, the rescue pumper world, it's truly changed as the battery world has changed. We are Hearst Jaws of Life dealers here at Sentinel. We do Supervac fans and Ram fans and all that kind of stuff too. I don't even know the last time that we sold a true set of hydraulic rescue tools, right? In the past, rescue pumpers were a lot harder when you had to get 2 100-foot reels. You had to have all the tools, right? You had to have a power unit, all those pieces. So the old saying of cramming, 20 pounds of crap into a 5-pound bucket. It got easier by doing battery operated rescue tools, battery operated fans, and then all of your DeWalter, Milwaukee stuff, all that kind of stuff. Hell, we just saw at FDIC, SuperVac Command Light came out with that tripod light that's battery operated. You can put a FRC Spectra or a FireTech light on it, like better than just a Lowe's Milwaukee light. So the battery world changed everything as well on the rescue pumper side. It just changed everything.
100%. Yeah, the technology and where it was to where it has come to now and where it's going is insane. I mean, even with the batteries, I know some people would might not like to hear it, but even what Rosenbauer has come out with now, as far as that electric fire engine that was at the show and got delivered to Los Angeles. I mean, the concept fire truck is now a reality, and it's going to be a game changer for the American Fire Service.
Yeah, and totally different, right? I mean, the one that we unveiled is it's not your traditional type fire truck. It's totally different. Now, there's naysayers against that who are all about tradition, right? Which makes sense. But then there's the ones who look at features versus benefits versus tradition and say, well, this thing's amazing. I mean, the rear steer, that truck, it'll be interesting to see how it evolves, because it's small, it's compact, but to a certain extent, it's already a rescue pumper. I mean, the storage that's on it and the capabilities it can do, it carries a lot of that equipment already.
Yeah, 100. Yeah, when I think it was Todd McBride said, like, they said, like, hey, do you have more equipment, because we've got it on here, and it all made sense. Like, that was the eye-opening moment for me. I was like, oh wow,
yeah,
this is really something.
Right, it's always something. The rescue pumpers, I think we do, I would say 90% of our trucks are rescue pumpers. The bigger cities, to a certain extent, still do it. But at Jefferson City, Missouri, they run some engines, but then their rescue engines are the exact same truck, just a little bit longer with some more stuff on them. Now, they did rear mount pumps to maximize storage space. Those trucks are probably 3 or 4 years old. Cape Girardeau, another big city around here, they did 3 engines and then 1 rescue engine with more stuff on it. So there's the true rescue companies. I delivered one to Monarch, Missouri last year, I guess. And that's one. Cape Girardeau did one a couple years before that. But you just aren't doing many straight, true rescue trucks like we were to a certain extent.
Now, you bring up the rear mount pump, and I know for us in the Northeast, we don't see many rear mount pumps. What's the advantage for the customer when they're designing a rescue engine? They're gonna consider this rear mount, pump. But like, why the rear mount, and what does it do for you from a standpoint of compartment space and making the operation a little bit smoother?
Yeah, hell yeah. Let's talk rear mount pumps, Rob. I'm a rear mount pump guy. That's one of my favorite trucks to talk about. So it just changes stuff around. It truly does. And I wish I had some pictures on here to show you. But if you think of a standard side mount or a standard top mount, right? You got the cab, and then you got the body or the pump house, and then you got the body again. So it's 3 different pieces. Well, weight and balance plays a huge role to that, right? Because you got to get the water tank to balance in order to put enough water on the front axle. So from a pure truck building perspective, now on a rear mount, you got a cab and you got a body. So we can shift the water tank all the way forward. So not only philosophically do things change, but operationally it does too. Because with the water in the front, it handles different. The compartments can now be full depth because the tank can be longer. You don't have to tee the tank. There's a lot of those factors that go into play with it on a rear mount. The wheelbase can shorten, so your maneuverability changes. I mean, all those pieces go into play. And the guys who, Jefferson City, I mean, they're a great one to talk about this. They had all side mounts for a long time. And they ended up going rear mounts. I haven't talked to them in a while. There may be comments that show up on this, something different. But as far as I know, they love the rear mount pump side purely because they run with 2 ladder companies. They have a 109-foot straight ladder and a platform. And so it allows the operator, right? You always tell people, pull past the fire if you're in the engine, pull past the fire to give room for the aerial. So on a rear mount pump, you want to pull past the fire. So that way that pump operator's at the back of the truck and they can see everything. So now you're relaying on a 25-foot roll to the aerial that's 15 feet away from you, kind of thing, because it's right there. So you're seeing everything. You're at the back of the truck, so now you're kind of a utility guy where you can do everything. On a side mount, it's great, but if you're standing on the side mount, you got all the discharges and the intake coming right at you between your legs, all that kind of stuff. There's no, I mean, let's just clarify. The pump is on the driver's side or the passenger side, rear of the truck. It's not on the true back of the truck. So you just don't have anything around you. So I talk about rear mount pumps. We build top mounts, we build side mounts, we build compact pump mounts. We build a top mount, side mount called our Safe Scene, which is really cool. But I ask people, what are you trying to do and what are you wanting to accomplish? And whenever they tell me, hey, we run with an aerial, then we start talking about rear mounts, and the philosophy just kind of rolls with it. It's something different that most people are scared of, but once they use it, most of the time there's no going back.
Now I know as we were talking about this rear mount pump, they're like on the internet, phones are starting to go off, and like I call it the white wave of safety officers is coming forward, because they're gonna sit there and there's kicking and screaming, and you're gonna get hit on the road, and like, I mean, we could get hit anywhere. I when it comes to highway operations and or operations on a roadway and being out of traffic, the only option to me that is that either that side mount, like, or the top mount on the side, or a top mount pump to get that pump operator. But we still have to operate in the road anyway, because that's where the vehicle is, right?
Yeah. I had a department, I had one, so we had this conversation, and the one guy says, we can't have this for safety. I said, well, tell me how you run. What do you do? Well, we're on the interstate all the time. I go, okay, what do you have now? We got a side mount, okay, on the driver's side, all right? I said, so what do you do? So when you have an accident on the interstate, you get on the interstate and you run all the way up the fast lane, right, to veer to the right. He goes, well, we tried to, but we can never get that. We end up always running up the shoulder. I said, so then you're veering to the left. Well, yeah. I go, well, now the pump operator's really screwed, because he's in the middle of the truck and has nowhere to go, nowhere to run. So that got him thinking. That same department then ended up buying a rear mount pump, and we talked philosophy. They ended up buying, I think it was 4 of them, 4 rear mounts, and they run up the shoulder. And when they veer left, the pump panel we put on the officer's side at the back of the truck. So now he's truly protected, and he can see everything. I mean, if you got a semi barreling down at you at 50 miles an hour, you don't have enough time, whether you're at the back of the truck or 12 feet further in the middle, to react. At least at the back, maybe you can run across the back, forward, something. When you're in the side, you're just dead in the middle. And even a top mount, I agree with you. The best solution on the interstate is a top mount. But boy, if I get hit 50 miles an hour and rear-ended and I'm standing on the top,
you're going for a ride.
I'm going to have some whiplash. I'm going to have some issues. I mean, I'm not going to be fully protected by any means. So there are give and takes, and it's purely operational. That same department, we had another one, Boone County, Missouri, which is one of the largest fire districts in Missouri. They buy all rear mount pumps from us. They put theirs on the driver's side, because Boone County said, we do a lot of rural stuff. We do a lot of 2-lane road operations, decent amount of interstate, but a lot of 2-lane road. We want our pump operator on the street side, just like Lincoln County wanted that ladder act. We don't want the pump operator in the ditch on the passenger side. We want them street side, so they're on the driver's side, rear pump panel, full depth compartments, rear mount pump all the way around, and then they draft a bunch. So that way they pull up straight into a whatever, trailer fire, whatever it may be. They got 1-lane road operations, because now the folded tank is right behind them. The pump operator off the rear mount, he sees the folded tank, so he can guide the tanker back straight in. Tankers are 1-lane road operation all the way. You don't have on a gravel road a giant area to set the folded tank off the side.
Right.
So again, from my perspective in Rosenbauer, there's no right, wrong, or there's no right answer or wrong answer, but there's just thinking outside the box, and how do you truly operate, and how can we as Rosenbauer or Sentinel or any manufacturer make your life any easier? Because there's ways.
Now, one of the other things that's really popular with rescue engines is that front bumper. And I know that when we were in at Revolutionary Fire Texas at the lake, we had the truck from NBC, and like it just had an aggressive front bumper. Like they had so many options to do with that bumper. I don't know what they ended up choosing, but like let's talk about the front bumper first in the Rosenbauer product, but then on rescue engines, period, because I think it's something where it's becoming a catch-all, but like it has to be thought out. You can't just start throwing hydraulic tools up there and then a hose or a reel of for cord or lights or whatever, a kitchen sink. Like it's got to be there's got to be a plan to this, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a everybody thought, well, you just get an 18 or a 24-inch bumper extension, like that's just normal on a truck, which it isn't. But at the same time, you see so many gigantic bumpers out there with just a trash line in the middle, right? So
Right.
to me, it's a underutilization of space to a certain extent. You can do so much more with it if you just plan it out. Now, again, it's all based on your terrain, though. Lincoln County is a great example. On their first and second truck that they got for us, we had rescue tools and everything, reels, all that stuff in the front bumper. And on this truck, they have no trash line, no front bumper. I think it's only like an 8-inch extension to get the Q and the air horns in there because they were bottoming out the bumper all the time. Their terrain, they were just destroying the bumper. So they took everything out. But city-wise, or if you're in an area that can afford it, if you're able to pull the rescue tools out of a compartment, Fenton, Missouri has a 109-foot aerial that they're just getting from us. We're putting a cutter, a spreader. They couldn't get the ram up there, but cutter, spreader, battery tools. It's got a trash line up there, and I think a compartment for something else, all in the front bumper. And if you think about just the rescue tools alone, if you got a cutter and a spreader, a trash line, and maybe a ram in the other side hose well, and some ram pieces, that takes a ton of room out of whatever compartment, L1, L3, the rear center, whatever that may be. So to truly utilize and make it a rescue pumper, if your terrain allows for it, the best thing to do is to take that bumper and put something up there, for sure.
And I know, so recently, for myself, my department has purchased a ladder truck, and we were out at Rosenbauer. We just talked about the rescue engines. We're hitting on the extrication. We hit a little bit about the fire side pre-connects and hose lays, but also like rope rescue. There was some great stuff that I saw out at the factory with hitches. Like people are putting either a hitch on like a trailer hitch attachment either on the bottom was always for not a hard point but a tie off
winches and stuff. Yeah.
And then we see the ones up on the top, and now we're actually putting one up on the top of the roof and tying it into the frame of the body for extra strength, because tech rescue stuff like that, like anchor points, is what I was looking for.
Yeah, yeah. Yep.
I'm a little tired from last night's shift at the firehouse, but the anchor points, like there's so many options with anchor points, and it's something that can be thrown into the mix very easily on a rescue engine now, and the amount of weight that they can actually hold it's like the battery technology has been increasing as we've figured out the engineering. Can you kind of hit on that a little bit as well?
So I want you to know that you said it's very easy on the anchor points up top. I think I could speak for all of us manufacturers when we say it's very difficult and drives us crazy. But again, whatever the customer wants, we're totally game for. All right, whatever you guys want. It's just difficult because of the way that they have to be structurally tested, no different than one underneath. But we're seeing a ton of anchor points and receivers that are tied to the frame, whether it's behind the rear wheels, out each side, and one straight out the back of the truck, or sometimes in front of the rear wheels, that kind of stuff. Up top, you're spot on there on a rescue pumper, rescue engine. By the time they set up a tripod for some trench rescue stuff, that's why everybody wants one up top, right? One in front of the wheels, one behind, one up top, set the tripod for sewer laterals, stuff like that. But on rescue pumpers, you just got to tie the pieces together. But they're there all the way. You were talking about aerials a little bit ago. We've delivered 2 aerials, and I've never done this before, but we've delivered 2 in the past couple of years that are one's a 100-foot platform, and one is a 109 straight ladder that have coffin compartments on an aerial, and they turned out awesome. And guys wanted to store. It's not for the Stokes basket because that's on the side of the base section. It's not for a roof ladder because that's on the other side of the base section. It's for rope rescue stuff and all of those things that are just usable, light that you can throw off, but they take up room. And so when you couple in those pieces and you couple in battery tools and battery fans, now you're taking an aerial that used to be an aerial, right, strictly, and maybe you jump company, maybe you don't. And we're seeing a lot of departments who now have an aerial with 500 gallons of water. It's a 109-footer and all the rescue capabilities. Now you got a freaking rescue pumper aerial that people are running on.
And it may not be ideal for the customer. That's not the manpower they want to have, but it's the manpower they do have. So they have to make it work for them. And it's good to have the options to do that.
Yeah, you're spot on. It's all manpower driven, really. A lot of that is manpower driven. Everybody would love to have a dedicated engine company, a dedicated truck company, a chief's buggy, and a rescue running in the county or whatever it may be. But it's just not the way it is. I mean, it's just in our terrain in the Midwest,
Right.
it's just not that availability, and even the volunteer world, it's just not there.
So I think the only thing there's two other things that I wanted to kind of hit on with you with the rescue engine concept because I think it's one. I don't want to say you need it, but the deck gun on the top, right? Like
Yeah.
you have this rescue engine, you're gonna have like it's not gonna be like the traditional pumper where we can either like quick shimmy up there and point the deck gun. So you're gonna have to get a remote product most likely. Like what are you seeing that the customers are really excited about currently? Is it like a TFT monitor? Is it something from Akron? Is it something for Elkhart? Or is it kind of all three of them are in the mix? And is there like how does that all kind of fit into the design of the rescue engine?
So you're spot on, right? Because everybody, the on a side mount rescue pumper, the monitor's right above. So you're right. You can't just
Mm-hmm.
shimmy up there, and you can't put a manual valve up top to open and close it like everybody wants to do. So what we see a bunch of industry wise, like the exciting one is the TFT Monsoon 1250 with an extended gun. So you press the button, extended gun goes up, and then the TFT is all remote control. Or the Akron Deckmaster. That's the one that kind of flips over on itself. Press a button and it goes up, and then they have indicators showing on the remote controls of where the thing is pointing. So we're seeing on almost every rescue pumper to that extent, they're spending the extra money and either going all electronic remote controlled deck gun or no monitor at all. And it's again, it's a thing that you'd ask people, do you want a monitor? Well, yeah, doesn't it come with one? Well, it doesn't have to, right? You don't have to have a deck gun. And then you kind of talk to departments. Well, how often do you use the deck gun? Do you do a blitz attack where when the officer and the back step are getting dressed, the driver can hop up there and hit it, or what do you do? Well, no, we just go to the school and wet the kids down during the summer twice a year, right? Well, then do you really need to spend the $5,000 or $10,000 on a monitor? And then some people just don't do it. I mean, we've seen more action in the Blitz Fire, or the little Akron Mercury, or some of those where they're pre-connecting them to 3-inch, 250 feet, and they're using pre-connected blitz monitors more than a deck gun.
Yeah. Well, and it's I always think too, like you're if you're running with a truck and you're pulling past the building, like and the rule for us where I am is I always say a structure and a half pass, right? Well,
Yeah,
one building and then a half, just because if you have a mid mount, you want that extra scrub area, so that they have the front of the front of the address is what we want to open up for them. But now that deck gun is a building and a half past the fire building,
right,
so it's like the whether it's the Akron, the TFT, or even the Elkhart Brass, I think
yeah,
has the RAM, right? Like these are
right.
all lightweight portable monitors that can be deployed relatively quickly, and then hit it and go to work. So
One of the first rear mount pumps I ever sold. Department's going from a side mount. They wanted a rear mount, so we put the 2 inches 3/4 to 2.5, all the pre-connects up at the front of the body, and the monitors up at the front because that's what they were used to with their midship. So they go to replace it 10 years later, and I said, "Well, what don't you like about this truck?" They said, "We hate the deck gun and the pre-connects." Really? Yeah, we hate it because we get so used to pulling past the fire. It's exactly what you just said. Now the pre-connects and everything are forever further forward and they're completely useless. So on their second truck, they kept the rear mount pump, but we put the monitor at the very back of the truck. So they shimmy up the back, the monitor's sitting right there, and then their pre-connects are in the rear bumper. So everything came out the back of the truck, everything
right,
for that exact reason.
because it doesn't have to be in the middle.
Doesn't have to be, no, no. And again, it's not my job or any truck sales guy to tell you what you need. It's the customer's job to say, hey, here are the problems that we have, and then let us say, okay, well, here's some other options that are available to you. I mean, there's a ton of great manufacturers out there, and a ton of them who build great trucks. That there's a variety of stuff that you can buy. It's just a matter of you telling us. Don't just think that this is the way it is. We can get you anything that we can build you anything. Again, I know it sounds very salesmanish, and I don't mean it to, but we'll do anything with your money.
Right. And just I think the expectation is to understand that there could be a cost not associated to money with that. Like it's always a give and take, right? And
Yeah.
I think Dave Mangus, I consulted with him a lot. He's from Empire, um, and when we were building the truck, because he's had a couple great trucks come out, and it was one thing he cautioned me on when I was asking him some crazy ideas, and he said, "Listen, stick. I'm not saying stick strictly to the blueprint, but don't stray too far off the reservation with this, because you do know that this is a solid thing that works, and like understand that give and take like you talk about. For
Yeah.
myself building the truck, even with all the exposure that I've had from National Fire Radio, so it was it's always one thing to remember. I think
Well,
the
and
last oh go
Rob,
ahead.
you're spot on here. You're spot on because so many people think, well, I don't want a rear mount pump, or I don't want to move the deck gun. We don't care where you put the pump, right? You're buying a 1500 GPM waterless or hail pump or a Darley. It doesn't matter if it's in the middle or at the back. Your expense is whenever you get a bigger body and you have more shelving and more compartment space, right? We don't care if the deck gun's at the front. You're buying the deck gun, whether we plumb it to the back on the rear mount or to the front. There's a lot of things I think people get caught up and think, well, I don't have the money for it, but it may not cost them a nickel at all. It may just be the placement.
The last part that I think I wanted to touch on, because we've been going for like about 45 minutes now.
Jesus, already has
Um, let's talk about the cabs. Like, I know Rosenbauer has a lot of cabs, but like the rescue engine, especially with the multiple roles that it's going to play, like how does the cab lay out? Like what are some of the things that are strong that you like to see in the cab? Or, well, let me rephrase that. Not so much what you like to see, but what's worked out positive for the customers as far as the cab layout goes. Like.
Well, we've seen maybe, and hey, chime back here. I mean, the clean cab initiative that seemed hot and heavy and took off hard. We did a couple, but it seems that is dying off is probably the wrong way to term it, but it's not as big of a deal anymore. I think guys are maybe getting a couple sets of turnout gear and not carrying dirty gear in the cab and that kind of stuff. So the cab layouts, again, they've changed over the past couple of years. What we see a ton on rescue pumpers is EMS equipment inside the cab. They're putting rope rescue stuff, some of that cleaner stuff into the cab. Here in the St. Louis metro area, even the Chicago and the Indianapolis metro area, we're seeing more bulletproof vests, stuff like that in the cab. Doesn't make much sense to get a bulletproof vest and put it in an outside compartment that you got to get out of the truck to get, right? Doesn't make any sense. So we're seeing more room of clean stuff and things that are readily accessible right then and there. Rosenbauer makes a 78-inch cab, and some of the other big guys make these really long cabs that when you get inside the truck, you don't need it, but it buys you a huge compartment on the outside from the back of the cab to where the rear crew door starts. And so we do a ton of those big cabs, and they're utilizing those back cab doors for dirty gear, for helmets, for some of those type of things. That way they got clean gear inside, dirty gear outside, or EMS stuff on the outside of the truck. There's these waves that take place of not wanting all the EMS gear in the center where the back step's got to carry it out and it's heavy as hell. So that way it's on the outside of the truck, but yet still in a clean area where it's not going to get destroyed.
I've always thought of that middle compartment that people like to sell the EMS equipment to be in, but then you either staff down because maybe you're running, dual staffing on an ambulance and the engine, and that ambulance crews out. Now you're running first response on the engine, and you're doing that twist up and in, and then pulling out, and that's never made sense, when I see it. But
it never made sense to me that the trucks that have 2 or 3 forward-facing seats, but they're a small cab, and then you got guys all bunched up, shoulder to shoulder, all over the place. So that's the other thing we see is a lot of them are a 5-man cab. We see a couple 6s, but 4 to 5-man cabs. And then they're doing like 3 forward-facing seats. It seems like now most people want to ride forward, especially the younger generation. Nobody wants to ride backwards necessarily. So we see a lot of 3 forward-facing seats, and they spread them out to give you some more area. And then behind the driver, we're putting a gear compartment so the driver can put all his gear. And then behind the officer, whether it's a refrigerator, some kind of refrigerator cooler, or officer gear back in there.
Yeah. Well, Brian, thanks for like kind of just giving us this glimpse into the world of rescue engines. I mean, I think there's probably a million rabbit holes that we can dive headfirst into with this, but we covered a lot of ground. Is there anything that you have coming up, or anything that we missed that you want to talk about, promote, or anything
We
at
got
all?
we got some pretty neat ones coming in. If you're looking at that rescue engine perspective, you can go to Sentinel's website. Like I was saying, we've done some videos. If you haven't joined our YouTube, I walk around a couple of trucks. We're really trying just to show people all the options that are out there. We're doing some Rosenbauer quick hits on different things that you can get with your Rosenbauer truck if that's the way you're leaning. So there's a lot out there. Hell, I'd love the chance to come back on, Rob, and do a maybe have a truck behind me and just talk about that exact truck and kind of how it's laid out. We got another Lincoln truck coming. Maybe we do another one of these and just show everybody all those
Maybe
pieces.
we fly out to St. Louis and you can pick me up at the airport, and we'll spend a weekend going over. I mean, that would, like I said, possibilities are endless. But yeah,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
um,
It's awesome to see them in person. I mean, it just changes everything. It's one thing for us talking about, but it changes everything when you physically see it.
yeah, 100%. And especially, I think not only seeing them, but if you can get into some of the fire stations and see firehouses, excuse me, and see how the rigs are operating, and see, because I think that's like when we talk about the rear mount pump. The nice thing that I liked about the conversation is you're finding out how the customer is operating, because if they are, like you said, going up that right hand shoulder and then they're turning left, well then why not go with the rear mount and put it on the officer's side? It's one of those, versus the rural department who's got to have that one lane open, so street
Yeah.
side's a better option for them. It's just
And it
it,
really is, it's that fireman who's, he's been a fireman for 20 years or he's a captain, whatever it may be. And that's the way the trucks have always been at that department, right? It's again, it's not right or wrong. It's just, well, this is the way we've always had it, and this is what we're used to. And whenever you just poach that, hey, how do you operate? I try to be that. I try to be a consultant more than anything, and let people talk themselves into the way that they may want something, not me. I hate selling stuff. Nobody wants to be a salesman. Nobody wants to feel like they're being sold something. Everybody wants to buy something. When you go buy a car, you and your family want to buy the car. You don't want the sales guy breathing down your neck on stuff. So there's options out there. Check out all the different stuff that may work better.
and I think one last thing too. I just wanted to, and I keep saying one last thing. I'm like that politician getting one last word in. But how important is service? Because you know I've seen a lot of fire trucks across the nation, and like service contracts, understanding the service that you're going to get from the dealership. Like, how does this play into just the apparatus game in general?
Rob, if a salesman walks into your fire department and says you don't need service because our trucks are perfect, throw his ass out on the street right away. Right? There is no such thing as this. And people, I'm sure I'll get blown up on this, but everything's going to break in some way, shape, or form. And here at Sentinel, we're trying to do some things. We're trying to set up mobile technicians to be able to go out. We're trying to set up some pickup and delivery, just some different avenues to be there to support those guys. The trucks are getting more and more complicated. The days of having that fireman who's maybe a mechanic or a retired mechanic or whatever it may be, who works on buses or trash trucks, whatever, it's just more difficult. And having our EVT certified guys and having guys at a fire service dealership, whether it's Sentinel or whatever, but when you're specing a truck, whenever you're looking to buy, I think it's key that you check out service. I think it's key that you go visit their service center. I think it's key that you ask how long it's going to take for you to get here. All those pieces matter, because when your truck is out of service, it's a huge event. We had a situation 4 hours from here. Department went, newer truck, had some guys go out there and look at it. Oh, the truck's out of service. It's a disaster. You'll never be able to use it, blah, 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 blah. And we send our guy out there. Well, the cable came loose off the manual pump shift override. I mean, it was nothing. We disconnect the cable, truck's in service within 15 minutes. So the trucks are more difficult, and having fire truck people work on them are huge. And everybody would like to say, well, if you buy a Rosenbauer, take it back to a Rosenbauer dealer or a Pierce dealer or whatever. The reality is that if you have a good fire truck service center around you, they should be able to help you out. That's the key.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Brian, thank you so much. Hang around a little bit once we're done here, but I really appreciate you coming on the gospel today and talking about your passion here with Sentinel and rescue engines, and a couple extra things as well. So
I
Thank
love
you
it,
so
brother.
much.
I'll come back and talk fire trucks anytime with you.
Awesome. This is Rob, National Fire Radio with the Gospel, with Brian, owner and president, Sentinel Emergency Solutions. We'll see you guys out there.
The foundation is in memory of Lieutenant Joseph P. DiBernardo. Joey was my best friend, and he was one of the people that just pushed me forward and made me want to be a New York City firefighter.
The purpose of the foundation is to provide every firefighter in America who can't afford his own personal safety system, we'll buy it for them.
It's extremely important to give back and remember the legacy of Joey. He lost his life, and he's not forgotten. We're going to remember him forever, and we're going to do that through supporting the foundation and all the training that it does.
The foundation tries to raise money through donations and also the seminar. The seminar is our big fundraiser for the year. We have almost 300 firefighters here today training at the Suffolk County Fire Academy.
So incredibly grateful to be here this weekend at the Joey DiBernardo training weekend. The Memorial Fund has been incredible. Over the years of what they've been doing in Joey D's legacy is mission driven and paying it forward. It's firefighter protection. And the incredible thing about that is that it's done through a training weekend. Bringing all these instructors together and firefighters that come in from all over the country to be a part of this weekend really is all about sharing in the legacy of Joey DiBernardo.
Well, the main thing about the foundation is we get to pay homage to our friend, brother, firefighter, and instructor, Joey D. And it's just top-notch instructors from all around the country coming in, and they're offering their sense of street smarts to firefighters from also all around the country. You have everybody volunteering their time, which is great. And again, we want to pay homage to our friend and our brother, Joey, and we teach from the heart. That's the best.
There's all kinds of training. There's training on search, there's training on rescue, there's training on hose handling, there's training on moving a down fireman. I saw some training being done on giving a down fireman CPR, which I thought was unbelievable. What a great idea. Something I never saw in my career, and I think this is a great idea. There are so many different evolutions going on here, and there's so much going on. It's a great, great seminar.
100% of the proceeds are donated back to fire departments in need. And then the training level that they present is just untouchable. The training that goes on today will save someone's life.
With the foundation giving the PSSs to all the fire departments and all the grants and all the good work that they've done, they're saving lives directly and indirectly. And everybody that's gone through this training over the past couple days, that's being filtered back to their firehouses and to their fire departments, and it's our hope that they continue to save lives, indirectly or directly.
We're pushing guys to the limit with what I feel is like some of the best instructors in the country.
So you have the whole world encompassed in this. It's a great, great, great training venue.
They're giving back to try to save lives, so we don't lose anyone else like we lost on Black Sunday.
So right now, Joey's probably saying, so even though I'm not here, I'm still saving lives. That's what he'd say.